Hello, and welcome to our presentation, Figuring Out Food Preservation.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Anthony.
Back in ancient Egypt in 12,000 BC, there were records of Egyptians using methods of preservation, such as drying out their food in the sun, as well as salting their foods.
Back in the Renaissance times, in the 1300s, they used methods of freezing and cooling their food, as well as smoking and pickling.
Back in colonial times in the 1700s, methods such as cooling, drying, sugaring, and fermentation were used.
Moving on to today, we are in an era of food preservation based on chemicals, utilizing both artificial and natural preservatives. However, some of these chemical processes may have harmful effects on the human body.
Building on that, some common synthetic preservatives include sodium chloride, also known as table salt. It works to inhibit microbial growth and dehydrate foods. A few other preservatives that have similar effects, yet also have adverse side effects, include potassium propionate, sodium nitrate, and sodium benzoate. They can increase risks for behavioral problems, migraines, heart disease, and a wide array of other issues.
One of the most popular preservatives today is sodium benzoate. It is in everything from noodles to shampoo, but it has some effects that are not very well known to the public. Sodium benzoate, while highly effective in preserving and protecting taste of many different consumer products, should be replaced for the sake of the consumer with more natural additives in order to reduce its impact on the body.
As we can see here with our rotating 3D model of sodium benzoate, we have a 6-carbon ring with 3 double bonds and 3 single bonds to complete it. We have 5 hydrogens attached to the carbons on the ring, and an extra carbon attached with a single bond. On the 7th carbon, we see 2 oxygens attached, one with a single bond and one with a double. On the oxygen with a single bond, we see a sodium ion attached.
Here we see sodium benzoate react with water in a dissolution to form benzoic acid and sodium hydroxide. This is a weak acid and weak base reaction to form a weak conjugate acid and a strong conjugate base. Due to the strength of sodium hydroxide as a base, it works to neutralize the acids in fruits, sauces, and drinks, as well as consume water in the process.
According to our textbook from this quarter, strong bases tend to dissociate completely in water, meaning that there's no tendency to form the sodium hydroxide molecule. Instead, the 2 molecules in sodium hydroxide separate to form a sodium cation and a hydroxide anion. This step shows that the reaction of sodium benzoate in water is especially effective in not only consuming water, but also converting it to a very strong base of hydroxide in order to work towards pH neutralization of acidic foods, as discussed in the previous slides. In a recent study, scientists tested the effects of sodium benzoate on lab mice to see if there was any link to it causing ADHD and other learning impairments in children. They used Swiss male albino mice and divided them into 5 groups. For 4 weeks, the control mice received regular tap water, and the treated mice received 4 different concentrations of sodium benzoate in their drinking water.
During this time period, the mice were tested for their muscle coordination, learning, and memory through the rotor-rod test, shuttle box test, and step-down test. The rotor-rod test had the mice placed on a spinning rod to see how long they could hang on to it. The results showed that the higher the concentration of sodium benzoate, the shorter their duration was on the rod, proving a loss in muscle coordination.
At the end of the 4 weeks, the animals' heads were decapitated and quickly snap frozen in liquid nitrogen to be stored for later examination. The scientists noted that the brains of the experimental group mice contained much lower levels of GSH. This is a chemical in the brain that helps play an important role in the detoxification of reactive oxygen in the brain cells. Lower levels of GSH in the brain have been connected to oxidative stress, leading to cognitive impairment and neurological diseases.
The brains in the treated mice also had significantly higher levels of MDA, which is closely linked to oxidative stress. According to McGraw-Hill Access Science Encyclopedia, oxidative stress is an imbalance in the brain between free radicals and antioxidants. Free radicals are oxygens with an odd number of electrons, which allow them to easily react with other molecules in the brain, causing damage to cells, proteins, and DNA. Overall, the scientists concluded that harmful chronic exposure to sodium benzoate can lead to a neurological dysfunction and coordination deficits.
Food swamps are areas that are lacking in healthy grocery stores and have an abundance of unhealthy fast food. These areas are linked to much higher levels of sodium, including sodium benzoate. According to a recent news article by eatthis.com, consuming too much sodium can also contribute to high blood pressure, which is also linked to heart attack and stroke. Fast food restaurants such as McDonald's have very high levels of sodium and include sodium benzoate in their products.
One way we could reduce these negative effects could be switching to natural additives instead. These are derived from plant or animal material rather than being made synthetically in a lab.
Plant-based preservatives include antimicrobial agents, antioxidant agents, and essential oils.
Animal-based preservatives can include antimicrobial enzymes, antimicrobial peptides, and antioxidant peptides. Overall, these natural preservatives are much better than the synthetic alternatives in terms of side effects and risks.
In conclusion, sodium benzoate may increase levels of oxidative stress, increase risk for ADHD, and increase risk for other neurological disorders. We should work towards a new era of natural-based preservatives instead in order to reduce these effects.
Sodium benzoate in your drink. You may want to pour it down the kitchen sink. Hold on a sec, let's not overthink. Let's read the ingredient ink. Sodium benzoate is for preserving. Some of its effects can be disturbing. According to a recent study, it can cause neurological disorders and decreases in muscular coordination. Just wait 1 sec, it's not all bad. In small amounts, it's actually quite rad. Preserving food so it doesn't go bad. Maintaining taste and minimizing waste. And it's in the cosmetics you put on your face. The way it works is really quite simple. All you need is just a little sprinkle. Consuming water and making things more basic. As you can see, it's not complicated. Because of its effects, its use is debatable. To be real, it is quite replaceable. Natural preservatives are pretty lit. If you disagree, just come on, man. Quit it. Just quit it, man. Quit it.